Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with our today's practice questions, a gentle reminder. BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS has already launched its official Telegram channel. What is that you have to do? Follow the link given in the description box or scan this QR code. This will take you to our official Telegram channel. Join the channel so that you get all the current affairs related updates. Let's get started and look into the first question. Consider the following pairs. We have drones on one side, country of origin on the other side. MQ-9B, United States of America, Heron TP, France, Switch, Russia. How many pairs given above are correctly matched? The answer to this is only one pair. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to indigenous UAVs. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, yes, MQ-9B is from United States of America. So the first one is correctly matched. When you look into the Heron TP, it is not from France, but instead it is from Israel. And when you look into the third one, Switch is not from Russia, but it happens to be indigenously produced in India. So this means that it is only one pair which is correctly matched. So the answer to this would be A, which is only one pair. So remember, Heron TP is from Israel and Heron TP is a medium altitude long endurance unmanned air vehicle. It is satellite communication enabled and can fly up to an altitude of 45,000 feet and has an endurance of over 30 hours. It is being leased from Israel Aircraft Industries. So this is being used for the surveillance and reconnaissance missions, and it is also capable of being armed as well. As of now, it is non-weaponized, but in the near future, if the country wishes to, it can also become armed UAV as well. So if we speak about MQB-9 drones, this is from United States of America. This can be used for the surveillance where along the line of actual control. As of now, we have seen number of skirmishes along the line of actual control between India and China. In order to monitor it, in order to make sure that we have vigilant eyes along the line of actual control, MQ-9B, which is from United States of America, can be used in the near future. So this US made MQ-9B drones is designed for long endurance, high altitude surveillance, which will also give a boost to India's monitoring program. Then we have Switch. Switch happens to be an indigenously produced UAV which is from India and it is used for the surveillance operations. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to suspension of the internet, which of the following statements are incorrect? The rules issued under the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885 stipulate that only the Director General of Police can pass such an order at the state level. Access to internet is a fundamental right under Article 19. Which of the statements are incorrect? Since it is asking for the incorrect statement, the answer to this is one only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to shutdown of the internet. Let us try and understand what are the rules and laws that we have in our country. When we look into India, what we have is the temporary suspension of telecom services, public emergency or public safety rules, which was initially drafted in the year 2017. Before 2017, there were a number of state governments. There was also central government as well, which was making use of section 144 of the CRPC to suspend internet in that particular area. However, when rules were drafted in 2017, it was issued under the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885. This stipulates only Home Secretary of the Union Government or the Home Secretary of the state government who can pass the order, and that order must include the reasons for such addition. So it is not the Director General of Police, but instead it is the Home Secretary at the union level as well as at the state level, which is why the first statement is wrong. When you look into the second statement, yes, access to internet is a fundamental right under Article 19, said the Supreme Court of India. So remember, it is not Article 21, it is not Article 22, but it is Article 19 which speaks about freedom of expression. So Supreme Court clearly said, as part of the freedom of expression, as part of the freedom of right to speech as well, we have access to internet, which is a fundamental right, which is derived from Article 19 of the Indian Constitution. So second statement is right, the first statement is wrong. This question is asking for the incorrect statement, which is why the answer to this would be A, which is 1 only. Now, whenever an order is drafted by the Union Home Secretary or the State Home Secretary, this has to be forwarded for review in a committee. In this case, the review committee comprises of the Cabinet Secretary, Secretaries of the Department of Legal Affairs and Telecommunication at the central level. In case of the states, the committee comprises the Chief Secretary, Secretary Law or the Legal Remembrances in charge legal affairs, and a secretary to the state government other than the Home Secretary. So they will review whether this particular order passed by the secretary is right or wrong. In unavoidable circumstances, the order can be issued by an officer of the rank of Joint Secretary or above, authorized by the Center or the State Home Secretary. This is how we have a provision to impose internet suspension in a particular area. However, despite coming up with these rules in the year 2017, there have been ample examples as well where section 144 of the Code of the Criminal Procedure is still being used, which also provides power to the district magistrate during dangerous situations to ensure that internet is suspended. And there are been provisions which have also been used under section 69A of the IT Amendment Act of 2008. It gives the power to the government to block particular websites and not internet as a whole. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements with respect to Subhas Chandra Bose are correct? He was influenced by the teachings of Ramakrishna and his disciple Swami Vivekananda. While Gandhi was anti-materialistic and hostile to modern technology, Bose saw technology and mass production as essential to survival and dignity. Bose wanted a decentralized society. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference in the Indian Express article. When we look into the first two statements are right. However, when it comes to Subhas Chandra Bose, he wanted a centralized system where the central government controls most of the aspects, and it was Gandhi who wanted a decentralized society. And this can also be very important from your mains perspective as well, where they can ask you a question: what are the differences in the thought process between Mahatma Gandhi ji as well as Subhas Chandra Bose? Gandhi was willing to wait for a long time for independence, but Bose wanted immediate action if not immediate results. Gandhi was anti-materialistic and hostile to modern technology. Bose saw technology and mass production as essential to survival and dignity. Gandhi wanted a decentralized society and disliked the modern state, but Bose wanted a strong centralized government, centralized system, and saw the modern state as the only solution to the India's problems. And finally, Bose did not share Gandhi's dedication to non-violence. He felt that if the British have to be thrown outside the country, in that case, even if it is at the cost of violence, we may have to perpetuate it, says Subhas Chandra Bose. In 1938, he was also elected Congress president in the Haripura session. So remember, he became the president in the Haripura session, where he tried to push for Swaraj as a national demand and opposed the idea of Indian Federation under the British rule. He stood for re-election in 1939 and also defeated Dr. Pattabi Sitaramaya, who had the backing from Gandhi as well. Now let's look into the next practice question. With respect to All India Forward Bloc, which of the following statements are correct? It emerged in 1939 as a faction of the Indian National Congress. The objective was to bring the radical left elements of the Indian National Congress together. The initial committee of the Forward Bloc had Subhas Chandra Bose as president, Khurshid Nariman from Punjab as its vice president. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? It is from the same Indian Express article. So when we speak about All India Forward Bloc, this emerged in 1939. Yes, this statement is right. What was its objective? There were a number of people within Indian National Congress back during 1939 who had left ideology, who were leaning towards the left principles. These people had to be brought together, and that is why All India Forward Bloc was initiated. The initial committee of the Forward Bloc had Subhas Chandra Bose as president. This part is right, but it was not Khurshid Nariman from Punjab, but instead it happens to be Kev Shir from Punjab as its vice president. So the initial committee included Subhas Chandra Bose as president, Kev Shir from Punjab as its vice president, Lal Shankar Lal as its general secretary, and Pandit B. Tripathi and Khurshid Nariman as the secretaries. In its Nagpur session held in 1940, Netaji Bose gave a concrete plan for action for winning Purna Swaraj or complete independence. Everything was going good, but in 1941, when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose escaped India, when that was the first time that the party saw a major obstacle, with forward bloc being declared banned on June 23, 1942. During the formative years, Bose also said that those who wish to join the All India Forward Bloc must never turn back to the British, must fill the pledge form by cutting their finger and signing it with blood, which means that we are ready to shed our lives, we are ready to give up our lives for the independence of India. Such was the hard work, such was the patriotic feeling that Subhash Chandra Bose ji had for all of us, and which is why we have an independent India. So he, along with many other freedom fighters, have contributed to the greater glory of India. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to Indian laws about wildlife protection, consider the following statements. Wildlife animals are the sole proprietary of the government. When a wild animal is declared protected, such animal is entitled for equal protection whether it is found in protected areas or outside. Apprehension of a protected wild animal becoming a danger to human life is sufficient ground for its capture or killing. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2022. So when we look into the first two statements are right. However, when it comes to the third statement, it is wrong. Only if the animal becomes a danger to human life or is diseased or disabled beyond recovery can it be allowed to be captured or killed by the competent authority, that is the chief wildlife warden of the state. The third statement is wrong, which is why the answer to this would be A. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is broken rice exports banned. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. We have the central government which has banned the export of broken rice mostly used as animal feed and as a component for ethanol production in view of the domestic demand and the production scenario of the rice. So basically the government of India now decides that the broken rice which was until now being exported, what they have put is a ban. So Indians who were earlier exporting this broken rice would now not be able to export it. Why did the government of India come up with such a thing? That is because if you look at the exports of the broken rice for the past couple of years, in the financial year 22, it has increased considerably. Let's say to China, Senegal, Vietnam, Djibouti, Indonesia, and what we are consistently seeing is massive exports that have been reported in the year 2022. So this is mainly exported to China, Senegal, Vietnam, Djibouti, and Indonesia, and it exported about 21.31 lakh ton of broken rice in the past 5 months. So because they were constantly and consistently exporting the broken rice to these countries, Indian government felt that we may not have the broken rice in the near future. There might be sufficient balance as of now, but in the near future what we will have is limited supply because there is drought-like conditions in multiple states where these broken rice is currently being grown. Because of deficient rainfall, we are not able to get the expected yield. So as of now we have enough yield, we have enough amount of broken rice, so we are able to export. But in the near future, because the yield is not present, what we will have is the deficient one. So we should actually take care of our domestic priorities right now, and as a result what they have done is imposed a ban. So drought in many growing areas in India have pulled up the prices of rice in the domestic market. There was also poor sowing during the ongoing season due to the scanty rains as well. And because the yield is not as per their expectation, the government feels India may have a problem in the near future if everything is exported. So they have imposed a ban. Apart from this, another reason for the major increase in demand was because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Earlier, you had number of crops. Let's say, for example, you have wheat, you have corn, you have meat that was being imported from Ukraine as well as Russia. But now we are not able to import from any of these countries, and as a result, the move would ensure adequate availability of broken rice for the domestic poultry industry and for animal feedstock and for producing ethanol under the ethanol blending program. However, relaxation has been given to three categories where consignments of broken rice will be allowed between September 9 and 15. First, where loading of broken rice on the ship has been commenced before the notification. Second, where the shipping bill is filed and the vessels have already berthed or arrived and anchored in Indian ports and the rotation number have been allocated before the notification. And third, where broken rice consignment has been handed over to customs before the notification and is registered in their system. In all these cases, ban will not be imposed and they would be able to make exports, and these are the exemptions that are given. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.